Hey, I'm Dan.
And I'm Mike. I don't know if you know this or not, but when it comes to math, there are two very distinct categories. There are the math lovers and there are the math haters.
And no matter where you find yourself on that scale, we want to share something with you today that's a little bit about math and multiplication.
That's right, so let me explain. If I have something and I give it to you, then I no longer have it, right?
That's true.
Well, Jesus changes the math. Because when we have something and we give it to Jesus, then he multiplies it, and then he shares it with us and with others.
Wow, that is mind-blowing. Let's watch today's God story and find out a little bit more about that.
What gets wetter the more it dries? A towel. Hey everyone, it's Alyssa. Welcome to today's God story. So growing up, I loved math class for no other reason than there was always a right answer. I knew that math, I could always get there and I would know if it was right or wrong. But the other day, a friend showed me this math equation, and depending on how you looked at it, the answer could equally be 1 or 16. Like both were right, and I was so mind blown. It's like, this doesn't make any sense. Math is supposed to have a right answer. But that reminds me of today's God story, because in today's God story, the math makes no sense. You see, in today's story, Jesus takes 2 fish and 5 loaves of bread and feeds thousands of people. How does that math even make sense? But Jesus does it. And that brings me to today's big idea. Jesus multiplies what we give him. When we read through the stories of Jesus' life, we see love in everything that he does. And today, we'll see that our best efforts to love can be made even bigger by Jesus. Today's story is from Mark chapter 6, verse 30 to 44. Now, Jesus' disciples had been teaching and healing, and they were exhausted. So here's what Jesus said to them. "Come with me by yourselves to a quiet place. You need to get some rest." So they went off in a boat, but the crowd saw them go, and so they ran off ahead, and when Jesus and his disciples got to the shore, there was a big crowd already there waiting for them. When Jesus saw the crowd, he was really concerned for them. The Bible tells us that he had compassion on them because they were like sheep without a shepherd. They were looking for someone to lead them and guide them. So he began to teach them. By that time, it was really late in the day, and the people were getting hungry. So the disciples came up to Jesus and said, "Send them home so that they can go and eat." But Jesus told them, "Well, why don't you just feed them?" The disciples were pretty surprised by this because there were tons of people. They said that it would take half a year's pay to be able to feed all these people. So Jesus asked the disciples, "Well, how many loaves of bread do you have?" And they went and found out that there were 2 fish and 5 loaves of bread. The Gospel of John actually tells us that it was a little boy who offered up his lunch to the disciples. How far could these 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish possibly go? Well, Jesus was going to make sure that everyone would have enough to eat. He asked everyone to sit down, and they sat in groups of 100 or 50. And then he took the loaves and fish, looked up to heaven, and gave thanks. Jesus broke the loaves of bread and gave them to his disciples to pass around. He divided the fish and passed that around too. Let's read what the result was. All of them ate and were satisfied. The disciples picked up 12 baskets of broken pieces of bread and fish. The number of men who had eaten was 5,000. On top of the men who ate, there would have been women and children there too. Think of how many people ate from these 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. Humanly speaking, that seems impossible. But Jesus actually teaches us that what seems impossible for us is possible with God. This is definitely one of those things. So what does this look like in our own lives? Well, sometimes the smallest things can make the biggest difference. Maybe it's a compliment that makes someone's entire day. Or maybe you have a classmate who's struggling at school, and when you help them out, that gives them renewed motivation. I've had some really cool opportunities to travel around the world, and sometimes I meet people who are in some tough situations. Some people have had their homes destroyed by natural disasters. And what's really cool is when people give small amounts of money here and there, God can bring that all together and multiply their impact, and many homes are able to be rebuilt from their generosity. We all have something that we can give to serve Jesus, to love God and love others in the very best way. And when we do that, I think you'll be amazed to see how Jesus multiplies what we give him. I have had so much fun with you guys today, and I will catch you next time.
Turn to the person next to you and see if you can answer the following question before the time runs out.
Question time. Is there anything new that stood out to you in the story today?
Wow, this is a pretty incredible story.
Yeah.
Just imagine you're there, Mike. You're one of the 5,000. And they start handing out the food, the one basket of food,
Okay.
and you're pretty hungry, but there's 5,000 people that still need to eat. What do you do in that situation?
I don't know. On one hand, I struggle with hunger, so I'd think it's probably better for everyone and for me if I get a good fill. At the same time, this little basket has to go to all these people. I'd probably just take a little piece and then pass it along, right?
But then you look down the line and people are getting a decent amount to eat and there's still food in the basket. That's crazy.
Yeah, I can't imagine what that would have been like, seeing that little basket just keep going. And I wonder what it was like for people if they'd see the food regenerating or they just see the same basket. It's crazy to think about, but it reminds us that literally anything is possible with Jesus.
Let's watch this story and see the way that God can help us when we partner with him in our own lives.
I don't know about you, but I grew up with a story where Jesus took 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish and fed thousands of people with it. Now, when we think of that, it may sound a little like, what? But we know that Jesus did do many miracles, so we just roll with that. Now, what if I told you that you and I can take something, and when we partner with God, it can also multiply. It can grow and become more and bless a lot of people.
I love running, and I love doing track and field too, and I feel like God gave me the gift to be able to do them well. I always pray before I run track and field, and I feel like that makes me better at it, because I've gotten first place twice now.
Back in my middle school, my friends and I would collect popkin tabs that can be used to manufacture wheelchairs for others. Now, isn't it amazing how something as simple as a pop can that would otherwise be thrown away can be recycled in a way that blesses others?
I think that God has kind of given me the gift to be able to help people that are maybe going through a hard time. I know a lot of my friends, they struggle with some stress and anxiety, and they know that at any point they can come to me, and if they need someone to talk to, ask for advice, or if they just need to vent, they know that they can come to me and ask for help. I can see that God takes my prayers and he works through that, and he does something really special in my friends' lives.
When I'm at school, I feel God partnering with me. When I see someone lonely or doesn't have anyone to talk to, I can just go up to them and be a friend to them or comfort them.
Last summer we went to Malawi and helped out with an organization called Village of Hope, and we did crafts with them, and later we saw their arts and crafts hanging on the wall, and we saw how much it meant to them.
One way I can multiply God's love is through baking, one of my favorite things to do. I often bake cakes, cupcakes, and cookies for my friends' birthday parties or to comfort them for whatever the reason may be. Now, this serves as a double blessing, meaning that people receiving these baked goods are also receiving the love and care that I put into baking them myself. Now, this is what I bake.
I do cross country every year in the fall. God gives me a talent, and I pray every time before I run, and I do really well. Like, I got first place this past year in cross country.
So when Henry goes to bed, sometimes he feels scared. So then Mommy comes in and helps him pray about it, and then after that he's able to go to sleep.
In the summer, I went to Malawi, and I played Play-Doh with the kids in Village of Hope. I loved that place, and I miss that place and the kids in there.
I have this one friend who volunteers at a senior home. She comforts and cares for the people living there, which can be a form of sharing or multiplying God's love through others. So looking at all these things, we can see that when we partner with God, we can literally see him take all our efforts and talents and skills and transform them into something amazing that can reach much further than what we can on our own.
Question time. What's an example in your life of a time God multiplied something you gave to him? What happened?
Our big idea is that Jesus multiplies what we give to him. And I think we saw that pretty clearly in the stories Natasha and her friends told us. Jesus took what they gave to him and did incredible things with it.
And look at Natasha's exquisite cupcakes with the little peanut butter cups and how great you'd feel if she gave that to you. And like she said, you get the blessing of eating a yummy treat, but also the love that she shows by making that just for you.
I love it. Jesus' way of multiplying things is truly incredible. Let's break into our small groups and see what this looks like in our own lives.